The level of insurgent violence in Afghanistan peaked at resistance to the US military surge in 2010. Since then, violence has decreased steadily year on year, although seasonal trends in insurgent tempo has remained. Despite the decrease in year-on-year violence, the decrease is occurring at a lesser and lesser rate. The same is also true for non-militant fatalities, with the number of fatalities recorded each year decreasing each year but at a lesser rate, and the overall level of fatalities has remained high. That fatalities are decreasing at a lesser rate than attacks is indicative of the increasing use of explosive device tactics by insurgents. Although JTIC data indicates that ambush tactics have been the principal tactic utilised by insurgents, this shifted to the use of explosive device tactics in late 2012 and early 2013. A similar trend has been recorded as regards targeting preferences. As the primary agent of the counterinsurgency, the military, encompassing both foreign and domestic forces, has been the principal target of insurgents. However, the ISAF drawdown and the handover of security responsibilities to the Afghan National Security Forces has seen a decrease in attacks on the military sector and an increase in attacks on the law enforcement sector. JTIC also recorded a significant increase in attacks on the civilian sector during 2013, both discriminately and indiscriminately. JTIC assesses that the insurgent trends seen across 2013 are likely to continue across 2014, particularly in the increased use of explosive device tactics and the primary targeting of the law enforcement and civilian sectors. The first quarter of 2014 has already indicated this to a certain extent, as although attacks only increased 3% from the first quarter of 2013, the number of fatalities recorded rose 30%. Much depends, though, on a number of key events across the course of the year, such as the presidential elections, the withdrawal of ISAF forces, and the form, if any, that any residual US military force in Afghanistan takes. There have been several indications that the Taliban remains amenable to a peace deal with the Afghan government, and secret talks have undoubtedly been held between the two sides, despite the Taliban's public denials. However, while it seems like a peace deal between the Taliban and the Afghan government seems a question of when and not if, a peace deal before the end of 2014 appears increasingly unrealistic. It is more likely that the Taliban will engage in heavy fighting across the course of 2014 in an attempt to both bolster its position and undermine the government in an attempt to enter negotiations from a position of strength in a post-2014 and post-ISAF Afghanistan. However, this is far from guaranteed, and a number of scenarios, such as Kabul allowing a large consignment of US military forces to remain in Afghanistan post-2014, may lead the Taliban to abandon the idea of a negotiated peace agreement and instead prolong and intensify its insurgency. Past several years, ISAF officials have claimed that the number of Al-Qaeda militants in Afghanistan numbers several hundred at most, and that those that do remain in Afghanistan remain penned in a mountainous and rugged region along the border with Pakistan. These militants are also under heavy counter-terrorism pressure from the US forces, both from airstrikes and from drone missile strikes. As the ISAF withdrawal approaches, US officials have warned that while Al-Qaeda is currently in survival mode in Afghanistan, the withdrawal of ISAF forces will see Al-Qaeda forces re-emerge and attempt to re-establish themselves in Afghanistan. While this assessment is more than credible, warnings of an Al-Qaeda resurgence in a post-ISAF Afghanistan are a key element in US arguments to retain a strong military force in Afghanistan post-2014. As such, assessments of the potential threat posed by Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan post-2014 need to be evaluated in this light. While much remains unclear, it is likely that Al-Qaeda will at least attempt to establish a more significant foothold in Afghanistan post-ISAF withdrawal than it currently has. However, any measure of success the group has in doing so will be tied to both progress towards a peace deal between the Taliban and the Afghan government and the form that any residual US military presence takes in Afghanistan.